we've got a question from the audience. So I polled the audience ahead of filming to see if there were any questions for you. And we got one from Amit Pandey, who is the CMO of a company called Aviso AI based in San Francisco. And Amit is curious about um, on your views, Miles, on how creatives like writers and designers might view AI as either augmentative to their creative work or seeing it as a career threat or just a cool toy. So I guess his question is kind of, do you think creative workers should be worried about their future career prospects, or do you think that AI is going to actually augment their careers or maybe create more new opportunities?
Yeah, so a couple ways of looking at that. So first, there's been a lot of investigation by economists and historians and others of the impacts of technologies like AI and including AI. So this is a big subject of study of a lot of researchers right now, and generally, the evidence seems to suggest that AI, is not likely to cause kind of large scale displacement of workers or substitution for whole jobs, at least in the immediate term. At the current level of capabilities, it's mostly augmenting skills, and that's consistent with how technologies have played out historically, including earlier forms of mechanization and automation in the 19th and 20th centuries. However, I think that doesn't mean that there won't be disruption and kind of changes and turbulence. It could mean that there's that some occupations increase, decrease, are transformed, and even if a sort of whole job can't be automated, there could be large tasks within those jobs that lead to kind of a reshuffling of what is entailed within someone's portfolio at work. And so I think an example of this might be GitHub Copilot, where we're and GitHub actually just put out a post today, which is not exactly the day that this will be aired, but on July 14th they put out a blog post on the impact of this on productivity. So I think typically what we see is AI augmenting rather than substituting for people. We shouldn't be overconfident in this. I think AI progress has gone faster than a lot of people expected. So I think we should be prepared for the possibility that maybe things will be different from the past. But so far, it seems to be mostly augmenting. And in particular, you mentioned creative professionals. So OpenAI has actually worked with thousands of artists now who have been interacting with DALL-E 2 and finding all sorts of ways of kind of combining the best of both worlds of human and machine intelligence to create new kinds of products. So I think there's going to be very interesting creative applications, and mostly the upshot for creative professionals is that you probably want to be among the early adopters and sort of take advantage of these things, because first, it's just a lot of fun, and secondly, it might be useful for your job. And I can imagine scenarios where people who are taking those advantages end up having a leg up on people who don't. But I don't think it's necessarily going to take the human role out of creativity, which is not what these are intended for, and not the level of capability of current AI.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything that you said, Miles. And I think that instead of people, although you make the point that there could be more displacement in the future, but mostly that we're seeing augmentation, it seems to me from everything that I've read that that is what's going to continue in the near term. And so I think from a policy perspective, a public policy perspective, we need to be pushing people, we need to be pushing governments to be focusing on funding for retraining programs. I think careers are changing faster than ever before, and there's more opportunity, but people need to be adapting. Just like as you say, creatives could be getting at the front of this wave of AI augmentation with their work, and that could potentially allow them to have a much faster output, really interesting creative ways of doing things that are novel and surprising to viewers, allowing people that are on the at the front of this wave to be generating kind of more valuable art, even if it isn't more quantity. And going back to that Dolly 2 prompt engineering book that I was talking about earlier in this episode, there are some really cool examples in there of ways that I had not thought about Dolly 2 being used, where, for example, you have Dolly 2 generate lots of images that can be stitched together to create these huge artistic works, or that blend together classical works with modern works. And so some really cool stuff there.
I would just add one thing, which is that while I think we have some evidence from the past about how things tend to play out, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that so far AI is mostly substituting rather than sorry, is mostly augmenting rather than substituting for human labor. There's a lot we don't know about exactly how it's playing out and how different different professions and different demographics might be more or less affected, and
For sure.
so there's definitely a need for more research. And if people are interested in pairing as a company to be studied, or as an economist to help research this, or data scientists to help research this, Google OpenAI economic impacts research. We put out a call for people to partner with on understanding these issues better.